Hi guys, Steve Kaposi here at the Adventuring Camping School in Northeast Thailand, just continuing my series of videos on the collection and treatment of water for drinking purposes. And I'm going to make a makeshift water filter in this video. And basically there are two styles of makeshift water filters, and that is containers or just hanging up cloth on tripods or quad pods, which will be a future video. So looking at containers at the moment. Obviously what I'm going to do in this video is use a bamboo container to try to stick to a natural sort of primitive fashion. But of course you can use plastic bottles and so forth. That just happens to be a small plastic bottle I picked up in the garden. Obviously you want larger ones, 1.2 litre, 1.5 litre and so forth. You cut off the very top, you keep the lid on, make a small hole in the bottom. You want to put two small holes in your cordage first and have your tripod ready to hang it first before you put anything in there, so you don't have to muck around doing that afterwards. So you can use plastic bottles. So let's go with a bamboo container. So again, what I've done is, it's the largest container I can find. Not the largest you can get, but it's the largest one. The larger the better, of course. And you want one compartment down the bottom and it's open on the top, so you cut it just below the next compartment. Just drill a small hole down the bottom. You can use your knife with a sharp point as an example. And again, you want to put two holes in the top to put your cordage first. It's not so critical for bamboo containers because it's got a flat bottom. I can put it down somewhere. But with plastic bottles, you can't put those down anywhere. So make sure you can hang it and hang it up somewhere before you start putting the layers in there. So what I'm going to do is have these layers. I'm going to put some cloth material in as a first layer. Cotton balls, charcoal, sand. I've actually got 3 or 4 grades of rocks here. I've just brought my very finest dirt here as another layer. I guess you can call that coarser sand perhaps. It's very small rocks, coarser sand. Bigger rocks which are just like gravel, and blue metal I picked up from the ground, and I've separated those into smaller rocks, and just the largest rocks will go on the very top. You want some material, large rocks on top. They're really just to there to slow the water down as you pour it in, so you don't mix up your layers. You can put grass or some sort of material on top as well in place of the rocks, or both if you wish. And fine gravel and stuff you can find in creek beds, stream beds, rivers and so forth. You can separate the charcoal and sand with rocks or grass or something. As some variation, I've brought in some of my coconut fibre tinder, very fine coconut fibre tinder here. If you don't have cotton balls, you can use some fine natural material. I think my coconut fibre tinder is too coarse to replace cotton balls, but I can still put that down the bottom. That can go between the sand or the charcoal. It can go at the very top as well to slow the water down. If you can find finer natural material, then that's fine. But cotton balls is a very handy material. So let's start. I've got a handkerchief here. You can use any sort of cloth. You can cut bits off your clothing, your socks and so forth. I'm going to try and keep this intact. Just fold it over just to save my handkerchief. By the way, I've already cut the handkerchief out into bits to make char cloth, so it has been used. But the rest of it I want to try and save. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's overkill, but if I can put all this in one go, we'll see if we can squash that in there. That might be okay. It's a bit thick, but it doesn't really matter. Now, a crucial thing to look at here. Look at your container, and you do want a bit of a reservoir at the top so you can fill it up with water, walk away, fill it back up again, and it's going to drain through slowly. I work on a principle of about 1/4 of the top of the container. 3/4 are the layers, 1/4 is the top. Now I'm going to have the cloth materials down there. I've got cotton balls, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 6 or so layers, and if you count them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to leave myself a bit of a reservoir. So each layer is a good inch or inch and a half thick. So I've got to approximate those layers. Let's put some cotton balls in. And again, it doesn't matter how many you use. You want to put quite a few in there to make a nice layer. Squash them in. Why not a couple more to play it safe? So I've got like 10 to a dozen cotton balls in there. I should have counted actually, but there's about 10 to 12 to make a nice thick layer of cotton. Charcoal from the fire. It hasn't been ground up to dust. I don't think you need to ground charcoal up to dust. It can be clumpy and so forth. I'm going to pour some charcoal in there. One disadvantage to using a bamboo container is I can't see the layers. That's why I have to approximate those layers. So that's where a plastic water bottle is good, because you can see exactly how much material you put in there. Damp it down and measure. I might just measure how we're going here. So we're down to there. Cotton balls, charcoal, that's okay. That's 2 layers. What I might do for argument's sake is put in some of my coconut fibre tinder just to separate the charcoal from the sand. May not be the best material to use, but that's what I'm going to use. And let's put the sand in. I want to see how much I've got in there now. Like that. So that's cloth material, cotton balls, charcoal, sand, rocks. Let's go with a very fine, small rocks. Perhaps it's more like sand, but it's a bit coarser than sand. Let's try and put some of that in there. My fine rocks, my larger size rocks, which is just blue metal, really just to hold down those layers, and just a few larger pieces on top just to hold all that down there. That's about to there now, so we'll see how it goes. So again, that handkerchief will squash down there. Cotton balls, charcoal, sand, maybe the coarser sand, smaller pebbles, the smallest rocks and larger rocks, and I threw some coconut fibre tinder in there for good measure as well, and the layers came to about there. So that's how thick the layers were. I mean, each layer was a good inch thick, and that's what you're looking for. The sand, the charcoal, small gravel and so forth should be quite a good layer to filter. Of course, a large 1.2 litre bottle of water, you'll have more material as well than even this bamboo container. We're going to hang it up and collect some water.